Every single day, we beam massive packets of global data across oceans, verify complex algorithmic contracts, and transfer digital currency between smartphones in milliseconds. But the second an independent freelancer or small business owner submits an invoice for completed work, that high-speed digital highway hits a brick wall. We are operating a 21st century digital economy, yet we force our most vulnerable workers to accept compensation schedules designed for horse-drawn postal carts. This 30, 60, or 90-day waiting period is a human-engineered delay, persisting decades after the technical need for it vanished. Clinging to this payment cycle in an era of instant digital banking is a systemic choice, one that prioritizes bureaucratic inertia over the actual livelihoods of independent workers. To understand why we do this, we have to look back to the origins of trade credit. In ancient Mesopotamia, merchants used clay tablets to bridge the massive geographic delays of dispatching goods across slow desert trade routes. By the era of global maritime trade, these delays were baked into the system. A buyer in London couldn't reasonably pay for textiles from India until the physical ship had arrived and cleared customs months later. The exact standard of net 30 emerged during the Industrial Revolution. Mass production required a 30-day buffer simply to accommodate the physical transit of goods via rail and early postal carriages. Once a delivery arrived, the administrative reality was incredibly slow. Clerks had to manually inspect paper packing slips, route physical invoices through internal mailrooms, and hunt down department heads for manual budget sign-offs. Then came the transcription into double-entry paper ledgers, followed by drafting a physical paper check that would take days to eventually clear the banking system. That 30-day countdown was a highly practical, necessary mechanism to deal with the friction of a physical world, a world that, functionally, no longer exists. As telecommunications and enterprise software advanced, the physical need for a 30-day buffer evaporated entirely. Yet large institutions deliberately kept the rule in place. Net 30 morphed into an asymmetric tool for corporate leverage. By delaying payments, massive corporate entities effectively extract a forced interest-free loan from small suppliers to optimize their own internal treasuries. The standard defense for this delay is fraud prevention. Procurement officers argue they need weeks for human auditors to slowly cross-reference purchase orders, receipts, and invoices to catch anomalies. But modern AI-driven continuous auditing matches structured data instantly. It can verify contract terms, flag duplicate accounts, and clear compliant invoices in milliseconds without weaponizing time against honest suppliers. At the absolute sharpest end of this corporate leverage are independent gig workers and creatives who operate without any institutional safety nets. This chart shows the severe psychological impact of delayed commercial settlement. 80% of independent workers rank payment delays as their primary or secondary financial stressor, and over half report experiencing clinical anxiety directly tied to wondering when a client will finally pay them. Because they lack deep treasury reserves, a month-long wait for a paycheck means missing their rent, incurring late fees, taking on high-interest debt, or ultimately abandoning their creative professions entirely just to survive. When a corporate entity seamlessly processes direct deposit payroll for its salaried staff on the 25th of every month, but forces an external freelancer to wait 30 to 60 days for identical labor, it reinforces a distinct socioeconomic class divide. If we zoom out to the macroeconomic level, trapping capital in corporate holding patterns for a month starves the entire domestic economy of essential oxygen. Paying a supplier within 3 days acts as a massive, zero-cost economic stimulus. That small business can immediately use those funds to reinvest, hire new staff, and pay its own subcontractors, drastically increasing the velocity of money. Guaranteeing ultra-fast settlement also provides a massive incentive for peripheral businesses to abandon informal, untaxed cash transactions and step into the reliable, formalized digital economy. Singapore is currently positioning itself at the vanguard of this shift. The government's aggressive scale-up of the InvoiceNow mandate uses the PEPL network to securely link business accounting software directly to centralized government hubs by 2026. Transitioning to this system-to-system e-invoicing architecture removes the final technological friction, making any further delay a matter of policy rather than necessity. The Singapore government is already reforming public procurement. Initiatives like Tenderlight are actively removing upfront financial burdens and waiving security deposits to help small enterprises bid on public contracts. A mandated 3-day payment standard for all compliant e-invoices is the logical culmination of this philosophy, ensuring that a small business's capital isn't trapped in an administrative queue at the end of a project. Dismantling the 19th century payment weight via digital rails injects immediate liquidity into the economy and validates independent labor through prompt, equitable compensation.